Thanks very much, everybody, and good afternoon. It's a real pleasure for me to be here for the second year of Bird Photographer of the Year. I know we had a fantastic afternoon last year with a packed marquee just like today. You probably haven't come to see me at all, so I'm going to be very quick. I can't imagine who you've come to see, but we'll come to him very shortly. Bird Photographer of the Year is a partnership between the BTO, the British Trust for Ornithology, and Nature Photographers Limited. And it's a real privilege to be part of this new, exciting, highest quality bird photography competition. Our sponsors, we're very grateful to all of our sponsors, particularly those listed here, and without them we wouldn't be able to run this wonderful competition. So obviously a competition like this is about the quality of the photography, and the importance of quality photography is that these images inspire and enrich our lives concerning the birds that all of us in this room, in this marquee, and actually all of us in this sector are really passionate about conservation, and these images inspire us about the conservation of birds. But as important as that is the fact that it actually pays for conservation too. And one of the ways in which this competition does that is in partnership with the Cameron Besbolka Trust, who help to support a young ornithologist boot camp at the BTO, creating and encouraging the conservation and ornithology leaders of the future. And we're very grateful both to the Cameron Besbolka Trust and all the young photographers who contribute to this amazing competition for the support that that gives to conservation. So all it remains for me to do this afternoon is to say thank you to you for all coming, and to welcome onto the stage Chris Packham, who's going to present the awards for Bird Photographer of the Year 2017.
Thank you, Andy. Now, if you were with us last night, we had a debate on the stage here, which was based around the concept that wildlife television should be more than luxurious armchair entertainment. That planets such as programs like Planet Earth 2 were basically wildlife porn, you know, that they displayed a utopia which no longer exists. And maybe television should be offering an alternative to this, some real insight into what's really happening in the world. And I think we had a fairly creative debate. And the conclusion was that very much, yes, wildlife television should present us with a lot more than just these wonderful views of tiny packages of the world which are left relatively intact and unmodified. But there was also agreement upon the fact that inspiration, when it comes to any media, is intrinsically important in terms of stimulating an affinity for and a long-lasting love for wildlife and the natural environment. And I think that when it comes to photography, there are many skills that a photographer can embrace. Sometimes they can tell a story, sometimes they can present us with images which will shock us and change our lives. But equally, when it comes to nature photography, many people approach this with one goal in mind, and that is somehow to capture some of the beauty of nature and present it to us, the viewers, in its flat, two-dimensional photographic form. Now, you'll know if you've been shopping today for cameras, or you're already well equipped, that the technology we have, relatively affordably, in the palms of our hands now, has never been surpassed. We have cameras that can do extraordinary things, and if the camera doesn't do that extraordinary thing, we have software in post-production, post-editing, that can cover up some of our mistakes. Nevertheless, no camera has ever taken a photograph. It's the photographer that does that. It's their finger that presses the button. It's their finger that makes the decision to capture one tiny fragment of a moment in the entire history of our universe, something which only they can see, because there might well be another photographer next to them, but their view will be different. Not only their view through the camera, but the view through their mind. This is an intrinsically creative process, where the photographer has to rise to capture something which stimulates him or her, but personalise that, put something of their own, perhaps emotional response into that, so that it can be immediately communicated to the person who looks at it. And then they've got to master the technical side. That's the easy bit. So what I'm saying to you is that photography is very, very difficult. And what photographers aim for, I'm sure, is perfection. And perfection, as we all know, is wholly unattainable. And as a consequence of that, photography, for some of us, is an intrinsically disappointing, disheartening, and desperately frustrating business. We go out, and we press those buttons, and we get back, and we think, if only, or I should have, or what a pity. But we share our images generously, and sometimes bravely with others, certainly when they're entered into competitions like this, where they're rigorously judged, because we have a faith that our photographs have a meaning. And if they have a meaning to us, they might have a meaning to others too. And this is why I think that the photographs that you're about to see have an underlying importance, because they are successful in their ability to capture some element of the natural world, that tiny fragment of time, and you will respond to them. You may have your favourites, you may disagree with the judges. The judges, of course, make a subjective opinion, a collective of them, a shared collective opinion, that doesn't necessarily mean they're right. Obviously, we weed out the chaff so that we're dealing with the best possible corn, and we've got some great corn for you. And do you know what the most extraordinary thing is? This is a very new competition. And in the past, when I've had the privilege of judging other competitions, it's taken a few years to get some inertia, to get the quality of entries coming in, to see some of the world's most famous photographers entering competitions. They're quite a sort of standoffish bunch. They're quite conservative in many ways. It takes them a little while to want to put their work into these sorts of things, but not here. I'm privileged to have been one of the judges. And when I clicked open the files on my computer and started looking, I thought there'd been a mistake. I thought they'd actually been prejudged and I was already looking at the winners. The standard of entries, I have to tell you, was absolutely outstanding in year 2. I mean, year 1 was good and we had some fine winners. But these were just a raft of photographs. In some of the categories we were looking at 100, and there were some outstanding images in there. And this is testament, of course, to the organisers of the competition and to Collins and everyone else who published the book. It's been given a great deal of energy, a great deal of good organisation, and immediately found faith in the photographic fraternity. And they've responded by entering some outstanding pictures. So it's a difficult art, particularly when you involve birds. Most of the wretched things have got functional wings, which means they can fly off at any sort of whim. And they can't be directed, even with bread and peanuts. Well, actually, with peanuts they can. If they're blue tits in your back garden, let me tell you, use the peanut wisely. You can get them to do almost anything. So let's start running through some of the categories. Enough of me, let's look at some of the work. So what we're going to do is we'll run through each of the categories. We'll do it in traditional reverse order, looking at those photographs that are second and third place, highly commended, so on and so forth. And then we'll get to the winners. If the winners are here, we'll call them up. They'll be presented their prizes. You will vigorously applaud them, I'm sure, or I'll goad you to do that anyway. And then at the end, we'll announce the overall winner of this year's Bird Photograph of the Year competition. Right, so where should we get started? Let's get started with the best portrait category here. And this photograph is of common eider, as you can see, photographed by Pal Hermansen. And I'm going to have to speak here and paraphrase briefly about each of these photographs and what I would call that the judges' thoughts were. So don't read these as entirely mine. I'll do my best to involve the thoughts of my colleagues too. But here we have a photograph. Again, the camera's in a housing. It's a split-level photograph. You can see the buildings behind, the common iders. Both the iders are facing in the right direction. It's on the left-hand side of the frame. It's got to be looking into the right. And would you believe it, the female was doing what the male had asked it to do. An outstanding achievement here for both the eider and the photographer. So this is a superb photograph, and we've given it our Bronze Award this year. Hal is not going to be with us this afternoon, but nevertheless we would like to applaud him because this is a super photograph. It's about using imagination as well as technology. Yes, housings are affordable these days. Yes, you can put all of your cameras in them. You can even get a splash bag for just a few pounds and take these sorts of pictures. But it's about using your imagination, getting in exactly the right place, and that's what Pal has done here. Okay, in the best portrait here, our silver prize winner is this photograph taken by Mark Webber of a common guillemot. And this is a beautiful portrait. It's stunning. The wing is open to perfection. This is a bird that's listening to direction. How Mark has communicated to the common guillemot, albeit the bridal variety, I honestly don't know. But this is one of those photographs that immediately I saw, I was intensely envious of. This is the sort of photograph I'd put on my wall. There are none of my own, but I would certainly frame this one and put that there. Again, the beak positioning, the shape of the wing, the black and white choice, perhaps made afterwards, perhaps at the time, cutting off the other side of the bird. You don't need a guillemot with a closed wing if the other one's open, so the composition is delightful, and I think, to be quite honest with you, that bridal bit of it makes it a very special photograph. This is superb, so let's have a round of applause for Mark Webber. The standard is high. The standard is high in this competition. So let's go to our best portrait overall. And this photograph was taken by Alejandro Prieto Rojas. I hope I've got that right. He's not here, so he can't be offended directly about my mispronunciation of his name. But it's largely irrelevant because we're here not to celebrate his name but his work, and this is an outstanding photograph. So here we've got American flamingos. It's a striking portrait, and it's all about colour. I mean, you've got the blue sky, but it's subtle. It's a grey blue. And then you've got the constant grey of those young birds. And then the punchy pink red of the adult birds, one of which happens to be delicately dripping its food into the mouth of the youngster, and then they're supported by those pink legs. I mean, this is so painterly that it's remarkable. In fact, when you look at it as a photo, you initially see it, I think, as more of a painting. And I'm sure that this, you know, when Alexandro were laying there, prostrate, probably in the baking heat, with his telephoto lens, when he saw this and pressed the button, he must have known that he was on to something good. And good this year has got him Best Portrait in Bird Photographer of the Year. So let's give him a round of applause. Frankly, when I look at it here, I'm sickened by this photograph. You know, I'm sickened with envy. It's a very, very beautiful and accomplished portrait. Okay, moving on to the next category. This is birds in the environment. So here the challenge, as you can imagine, you know, it's pretty simple. It's written on the can, and that is we want to see birds, but some aspect of their environment there as well. And here we see bramblings caught in motion. So there's light upon these birds, which is producing this beautiful tissued effect of the flying birds, and then on the right-hand side of the frame, you've got all these bramblings perched in this dead winter tree. There's an abstract quality to this, but you can still see the shapes of the birds, and if you're close enough to see them, you'll see that they're finches. Do you really need to know that they're bramblings? Well, you would probably guess because of their abundance in the tree anyway. But it's not about that. It's about capturing a moment, I think, here. And this, again, is a magical moment. It's one of those photographs that we, the judges, were envious of because we wanted to be there to see this. the sun is setting on this flock of, what must be an enormous flock of bramblings as they move out of this tree. And again, this photograph was taken by Mark Webber. He's called it Multicoloured Wings. We call it the bronze winner in this year's Bird Photographer of the Year, Birds in Their Environment. Mark, come to the stage again, please. Once again, it's about exercising imagination. This is seeing what the human eye can't see. This is knowing what your camera can do creatively. It's that sort of insight that is lifting the quality of our entrance this year. Okay, so our silver award this year, and again, I urge you to buy the book afterwards because they're lavishly printed in the book and you can study these. I know you're looking at this from some distance, but this again is a beautiful picture which defines the serenity of a moment. And it's another one of those images, I have to say, where you just wish that you were standing there. I even wish I was standing there without a camera, because you've got this group of common cranes perched in this shallow water on this misty morning or misty evening, and the blue sky, the subtlety, the lack of detail, the trees peeking out. He's not here, so I am going to complain about this one tree which is slightly more spiky on this side. I mean, all of these have got nice round tops, and then you've got that spiky one over there, and I mean there is Lightroom and Photoshop, but you know, the spiky tree troubles me, but it's still an amazing picture because it really is so inviting, and this again gives us it's truly inspirational. It says to you there are places out there where you can stand and see something as primal and as simply beautiful as this. It's our silver award winner. The photographer is Piotr Chara, and he again isn't with us today, but we will give him a generous round of applause. Okay, so the winner in this year's Bird Photograph of the Year in the Environment section is Ben Hall with this photograph. And again, I must urge you to look at this in close-up and study this photograph. The textures, the colours, the light, the composition, the framing. I mean, this again, it's a condor, an Andean condor in flight, and it's taken over these mountains with the cloud rising off the top of them, that smoky cloud. You've got these wonderful black shapes in here. It's incredibly graphic. The bird is banking in the wings. Its colours match the background as well. You've got that white and the black of it. I mean, it is an outstanding photograph. I'm not quite so keen on this little piece down here myself, nor this piece of snow, but I mean, you know, I'm Asperger's, and so, you know, you've got to cut us some slack because we're massively into detail. But, I mean, again, when we all saw this photograph, I think, you know, well, my head was in my hands, you know, because I'm in awe of this as a piece of work. This is an amazing, amazing photograph. The winner, Ben Hall, will be known to many of you. This is not his, I've got to say it's not his single greatest photograph because he's got a great number of extremely good photographs. He's an accomplished artist when it comes to bird photography. So put your hands together for Ben Hall. But again, it says something about the bird. There's a solemnity in that bird's eye, and there's a crisp beauty. The black and white is, again, an artistic choice that's been made, and we felt that this was a very worthy winner of the Bronze Award in this category. And she is here, so put your hands together for Jessica Winter. Here in spirit, not here in person. That was my mistake, actually. I'll take full responsibility for that one. Okay, moving on then to the Silver Award in this category. And this photograph was taken by Ahmed Alessa. It's a grey heron. It's a bird that's known to all of us. This is a bird that we could photograph in most of our neighbourhoods, in our parks, some of us in our gardens. It's certainly not an inaccessible species. But it is, and therefore it's a species that's photographed an enormous number of times. I'm sure many of you here have pressed the button on this a few times already this year. So you've got to see it in a different way. And here again, the framing of the photograph and the colours of the photograph and the light on this bird's back are what make it. So we know that these birds have these wonderful, soft, grey, feathery feathers, these soft, powdery textures, which is captured brilliantly here. And then you've got that lovely golden colour of the water, and the bird craning down and either admiring or looking with some disdain, I'm not entirely sure which, my heron psychology is not up to it, at its own wing. And then you've got the reflection there as well. Now I'm thinking to myself, you know, if the bird hadn't just had a little wobble, there wouldn't be these ripples here, and you might have got a perfect reflection, but nevertheless, you know, having the vision to identify this one part of the moment. I mean, we don't know what else is going on, but we know it was probably distracting. But being able to focus in on this one thing in such beautiful light is a testament to Alessa's skills, and we've given him a silver position in this year's attention to detail category. He isn't here, but we will applaud him generously. Okay, this year's winner. We debated this because basically it's a common cormorant without a head. But it is attention to detail. And we're quite strict in the sense that we have categories in this competition which don't typically appear in photographic competitions. That's an element of its bravery. And we want our photographers to push the boundaries. You know, we want them to exercise that imagination and exercise their creativity outside of the normal scope of bird photography. That's the point. It's about moving forward. And here again, we have a perfect wing of the cormorant stretched out. The light upon it gives it this gilded, armoured effect. The black background sets it off beautifully. This is like a magnificent piece of sculpture. And then you've got the beak just coming into the corner. I guess that will confirm, if you had any ambiguity at all as to which species this was, that it was indeed the common cormorant. So we kind of liked the inclusion of the beak here, the cheeky exclusion of its head. And for that reason, Tom Hines is the winner in our attention to detail category, and we will applaud him. Okay, moving on to our next category here, bird behaviour. So here we're asking our photographers to be artistic, of course, but also at the same time to capture an aspect of a bird's behaviour. And we have to be quite generous here. The birds don't have to be doing something which is entirely pronounced, which would define a certain behaviour in almost a dictionary form. But they have to be doing something more than just sitting pretty, like the previous cormorant was doing so well. So in our bronze position this year, we have Ian Wade's photograph of this mute swan feeding. And again, there's something very painterly about this. You've got the legs of the other birds drifting down here, these lead-coloured feet. And then the lovely head of the swan, the feathers compressed and silvery, and it's rooting down in the gravel at the bottom here. A green wash behind it. It's almost orientalist in its painterly qualities. And it's a mute swan. One of the most over-photographed birds, I would say. They're big, they're white, they're cheesy, they're down the park. And therefore many people take photographs of them. And if you're going to get a good photograph of a mute swan, as we saw with our winner last year, you've got to exercise that imagination, you've got to do something more. And here it's about sticking your camera just beneath the surface of the water. It's not deep, it's not beyond the reach of, I'm sure, of Ian's arm. But in doing so, and with the light that was available here, he's captured this, I think, beautiful picture of the swan nibbling the bottom of the gravel there. So Ian, come and collect your prize. It's a worthy winner. Okay?
We're supposed to be here.
Well, he's meant to be here. Maybe he's in the loo.
Not your mistake, Chris.
Okay. But if he turns up, we'll give him his prize. Let's move on to the silver award winner this year. Malek Al-Hazar took this photograph, which is a white-throated kingfisher fishing. And you can see what's happened here. This small group of fish have become freaked by the predator, and that they're using their predator avoidance strategy of leaping out of the water. Now, whether they've been disturbed by a larger fish beneath the water, and the kingfisher is therefore perhaps almost sort of klepto-parasitising, taking advantage of that and stealing some of the food, I don't know, or whether the kingfisher stimulated this behaviour in the first place. But when you look at it in detail, which you may not be able to see from the back, the bird has got its beak open, it's dipping into this frenzy, the wings again are perfectly formed, they're not obscuring the bird's face. We know what these things are like, just one fraction of a second out here, and you've got the wings in front of the face, or in an ugly position. And so this is again a beautifully observed little cameo of bird behaviour. It's an attractive bird species anyway. He's called it Attack, and it's our silver winner this year. Malik isn't with us, but we will applaud him. Okay, so the winner in this category, bird behaviour, is Andy Parkinson. Andy Parkinson of last year's Swan. And here we have again another common piece of behaviour. One of us hasn't been down the park, the local lake, reservoir, wherever, where coots haven't been getting a bit upset with one another and having a fight. And we've seen these sorts of photographs before, so Andy is up against many other images which are already tattooed on our minds. So in order to compete with those, it's got to be better. And we all thought that it was better. The background is beautiful in terms of its colour. There's some structure to it. It's muted and it's out of focus. The coots are almost silhouetted against it. You've got this beautiful champagne spume rising up here, which has been frozen. And again, when it comes to the position of the two birds, they're captured in that moment. This is the owlie standing over Lisden photograph, isn't it? This one is down for the count, but its feet are up protecting its face. It's not giving up graciously. It's going to take it to the end. And again, this is one of those photographs which we can immediately relate to. We know the birds. We know what's going on here. We can smell the moment. We can hear the sound. It's involving. And again, what we liked about it is that this is a common bird. It is accessible. Any one of us might like to think that we could have taken this photograph. We didn't. Andy Parkinson did. And that's why we're pleased to applaud him. Ben is going to take the prize for Andy. Don't switch the bags later. Okay, excellent. Top work, Andy. Let's move on to our next category then. Birds in flight. This is a photograph of a ptarmigan taken by Marcus Varazvu, a Finnish photographer of outstanding quality. I would urge you to follow him on Instagram, as I do myself. I regularly wake up in some far-flung part of the world at some ungodly hour due to jet lag, and I go onto Instagram and I feel immediately ill. Because Marcus has taken some remarkable photograph, and he does so. And here again, I mean, this is a white bird against a white background in flight. And yet the light, I mean, again, I urge you to look at the print in the book. It's just beautiful. The light on this, which is still giving it all of that form and the wing position. The bird's mouth is slightly open. It's wonderfully positioned in the frame. It's subtle, but it's measured and it's beautiful. And it's our bronze winner this year. So Marcus, please come and collect this prize. Okay, our silver position this year was taken by Jamie Hall, and this is a red kite. In fact, it's the view of a red kite's arse. And, but what a view it is. I mean, it's spectacular in terms of its composition. You've got this X shape going across the frame here, and we loved the fact that it was taken from behind. Because initially when I thought about it, I thought, you know, would you get it if it were taken with the camera in front? Well, maybe not. Maybe the kite wouldn't accept that. And then I sort of thought, well, do you really need to see the kite's face? You know what this bird is. Look, its tail is spanned all the way out here. It's fantastic. And then, again, you've got red kites above it with sufficient detail to identify what they are. I don't know what this over here. This looks like a water boatman, to be quite honest with you. You know, I mean, the water boatman needs attention. But I don't know what it is and what it's doing there. But the kites, this is a super photograph. And again, you know, this is one of those moments where the photographer has just thought, you know, this didn't happen there, this happened, I imagine, in advance. Imagine Jamie was thinking, what can I do that no one else has done with kites? There's loads of beautiful portraits of these birds flying around in the sky. They're accessible now. You can go to Giggling Farm, you can probably go to your own garden if you live in the Chilterns, and they'll be swooping down there. But he's actually thought, what can I actually do to capture an image that says something about this bird which is new, imaginative, and innovative? And this scores 10 out of 10 on that account. It's a super photograph. Jamie, come and collect your prize. We'll be posting it to Jamie. And I'll put a little note on the bottom, what the hell is that water boatman doing in their mates? Okay, so what about our winner this year? Okay, I know, well there we are. That's what happened. That happened in the privacy of my office and when all of the judges got together at Collins. We looked at this and thought, Brett Charman, oh, you bastard. Sorry, I should have said that. I was just being honest, because this is outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. Look at the wing position. Look at the almost perfect reflection. It couldn't be any better. Look at the colours, the soft tone of this washed out sort of tobaccoised yellow that washes down here. It's got spume. It's got a pelican landing. He's called it cheekily a perfect landing, you cheeky cheeker. I mean, seriously. Yes, it took our breath away. And it is therefore a worthy winner of Birds in Flight this year. And Brett is here. Put your hands together for Brett. This photograph is going to haunt me. It will haunt me for the rest of my life. It will never escape in my memory, that's for sure. Outstanding. Okay, our next category. Okay, this is birds in the garden. And again, a category chosen to involve just about everyone. You know, so if you don't have a garden, you can use your friends. You've just got a window box, it counts. And so this is about birds in that environment, an urbanised environment. And this photograph, again, is a second photograph taken by Marcus Varasvu from Finland. And here again, it's a ptarmigan, as his flight photograph was. But we quite like the way that this ptarmigan was sort of curled up cryptically in the garden of this house. It's the middle of winter. The trees are encrusted with frosty rime, and it's curled up there, and you've got the light in the background. I'm envious on a couple of accounts, not only because it's a good photograph, but also because Marcus has got willow grouse in his garden, which is something I don't have in mind. But then I wouldn't want to live on a grouse moor to have grouse in my garden, to be quite honest with you, in this country. But let's not go there. So it's our bronze winner this year. Marcus, come and collect your second prize. Okay, this photograph again, you're going to need to look at this one, I imagine, in the book. But basically, it's all black, okay? There are two yellow eyes here, and then you've got this sort of constellation of spume. And this is a Cape starling, and Mohammed Murad, who took the photograph, has called it yellow between the stars. So he's got this black background, he's seen the fact that this bird is bathing, it's flicking up all of the water, he's used a high shutter speed. The bird is fortuitously black as well, which is added to the abstract quality of it, and in fact the bird only exists because of these two eyes here. Again, you know, this fulfills the bill when it comes to what we're asking for in this competition. We are asking our photographers to up their game. We don't want simple portraits, even if it's a bird in your garden, okay? We want something special. I'm afraid he's not here today, but we will applaud Mohammed for this wonderful thing. Okay, so the winner, I know, the winner in this category is this barn owl hunting, and again it was photographed by Jamie Hall, who's not with us today. It's got a little bit of flare down here, that's tasty. It's got the window on the other side, it's got the security lamp, and then it's got the barn owl in this absolutely perfect pose. And it's in fact got a couple of bits of Aranathrum grass that's shooting up the side here, which you may not see on this screen, but you will see them very clearly when you get a close-up of the picture in the book. It's great to have a barn owl in the garden, but the complex of elements in this photograph that have been brought together in an almost perfect composition, meant that it was a worthy winner. The lighting on the owl is absolutely sublime, and there's even an invitation to go and see it with this little bit of the lawn, the path here as well. It's a super photograph. We know he's not here, but we will applaud Jamie for his barn owl. Okay, creative imagery. Now, many wildlife photographic competitions have been scared of this category because they're terrified of Photoshop, because they don't trust us photographers. Well, some of us photographers are not terribly trustworthy, and I suppose that's tarred our reputation. But for a long time, we've understood that now we're taking digital pictures, the ability to transform those pictures either in the camera when you're collecting them, or afterwards using various aspects of software, are there. And why shouldn't that be part of a creative process? So we were adamant from the outset that in this competition we would have a category where there were no holds barred. You can enter the photograph having done exactly what you like to it, and as long as the birds haven't been harmed or interfered with or disturbed in any way, shape or form, that's fine. So this photograph in our bronze category this year, taken by Wim van der Heever, is entitled Swans in the Snow. It's Super Swans. And what has he done here? Well, he's got a slow exposure, and he's zoomed out during the course of that exposure. And at the same time, he's also flashed the swans to freeze them. So you've got this sort of ghosting here, and there's the explosive nature of it moving outwards here is due to that zooming. And it's snowing at the same time, and they're all white, and they seem to be in quite nice positions. This one's looking down here. It would be quite nice if it were looking out here. And that one over there, I don't know what it's doing, but Vim should have had a word with those two swans in the foreground. And of course he's not here, which is why I'm being picky about his photograph, but we'll give him a round of applause. Our silver position this year, it's called Him and Her, mallard of course, drake on the left and duck on the right. And this was taken by Francesco de Giuseppe, and it's our silver winner, as I say. And again, look, here are two ducks in the snow. This could have been down your park, it could have been anywhere. And what we liked, of course, was the fact that he's cut that duck in half. And again, this is very, graphic in terms of its representation, using the snow and the fact that the birds are boldly and clearly marked. He's used the black and white for this. And we quite like the cheeky nature of this, and the fact that it was a species that we all have access to, and he's made something more of it in this category. So I'm afraid that Francesco's not here, but we will give him a round of applause. Right. This one hurt as well, to be quite honest with you. This one hurt quite a lot. Georgina Steiler took this photograph. She's entitled it the Speculum, which is of course the name of this particular panel of feathers on the wildfowl. This is a Pacific black duck, relative of the mallard, found in North America. I'm sure that she might have enhanced, darkened the background, and she might have enhanced the colour of the speculum here. But remember, this is creative imagery. So she's seen within the photograph the opportunity to enhance those features and make more of them. I think we all love the fact that the duck doesn't have a head, that it's just got that one resplendent panel in its wing. And the details of all the rest and the beautiful reflection coming down here, again, I think make this an outstanding picture and a worthy winner of this year's creative image category. As I say, unfortunately Georgina isn't here, but let's raise the roof for this one. And she's very happy about that as well, as you can see in that photograph there. Very, very happy indeed. I'm not surprised. It's superb. Okay, so now we have the award for Best Portfolio. And Marcus is again taking a prize in this category. He's taken our special award here, and as I'll show you the photograph. So we've got great grey owl here on the left-hand side. It's taking off, and beneath it is a trail of snow which is left. Again, you know, you really need to see the detail in these pictures. It's in black and white. The silvery edges of the distinctive plumage of this bird are well marked. And then here you've got this bird, which is again a willow ptarmigan, I presume, or willow grouse, and it's beautifully camouflaged in its summer plumage. Here, snowy owl, overexposed. All that remains are the patterns on the bird's wing and its two eyes here. The wings wrapped around it in flight. This is an exceptional set of photographs. Blackcock fighting, bit of breath coming out there. David Tickling did breath with blackcock, I think, as well in the past. Lovely shaft of light coming up between them. Snow here on this bird, and then again, I think here a very special photograph. And of all of them, this was the one that certainly attracted my attention. This is a photograph of a gannet rising to the surface, but still beneath the water. So its form has been transformed, has been texturalised in this pattern. You can see the bill of the bird here, the coffee-stained head. Here's its tail coming out of the back and the wings wrapped around the side. There's some air bubbles trapped in it. It's a remarkable photograph, and again, amongst the portfolio, was certainly my favourite. So Marcus, please come up and tell us yours. Okay, so this is the People's Choice Award. So what we did here, democratically, as we are as judges, and I've already said at the outset, you're looking at the collective opinion of a group of people in an office, and we've all got favourite types of photography, and we've all got favourite birds. We thought we'd throw it open to the public. So we took all of the photographs which were of merit, and we offered them up for people to like on Facebook. And I'm very pleased to say that Vince Burton's picture won this. We have this kingfisher tossing I can't tell you which species of fish that is, but it's tossing a small fish there. I mean, the wings are forming a beautiful cup shape. There's a symmetry to the bird, its beak's up, the fish is caught in motion, and it's on this perch. I can see why people went for this photograph, and that's why it's our People's Choice Award winner this year. I'm afraid, however, that Vince isn't with us, but we will again give him a round of applause. Okay, so then we have the Young Bird Photography of the Year. We're always excited by this aspect of the competition because very often young photographers don't see with the eyes of us old guys. They don't see the rules or the habits or the sort of the ideas that we've got locked into. They see things in a very fresh way. So, in our bronze position this year, in the Young Bird Photography of the Year, we have this photograph. It's called Close Portrait, and it's a common gannet, as I'm sure you recognise, the distinctive eye and part of the beak here and the back of the head. It's taken by Mark Albiak, and Mark can't be with us today, but I think he's got a video which he's sent along. So that's
next one.
It's the next one, is it? Okay, right. So it's the next one. He sent a video. So here we have in our silver position. This photograph is taken by Carlos Perez Naval. It's called Gold in Cold Water. It's a Steller's Eider. And he's isolated the bird against this dark background with the sun that's caught it from the side. They're charming little birds. They're remarkable things when you see them. Always much smaller than I imagined when I remember seeing my first one of this species. And again, you've got the reflection coming down here. It's perfectly positioned in the corner. Great composition. And so he's not here, is he?
He's not here, no.
He's not here today.
Somebody's coming to pick up.
But someone's going to come and collect the prize. Yeah. Thank you, Rob. Sorry, it's been a long day.
I know. Tell me about it.
Oh, yeah. So who's going to come and collect the prize for him?
Xavier.
Okay, Xavier, you're going to come up. Okay, let's have a round of applause then for our silver.
There's a video afterwards, Chris.
Okay,
yeah.
Right. Let's hear what he's got to say.
Hola desde España. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to get this important prize. I'm so sorry not to be here with you. I wish to come and visit the Birdfair maybe next year, but it's very difficult. I love birds. Thank you very much.
And frankly, folks, if you were standing around in that part of Spain wearing an Osprey t-shirt, would you want to come to Birdfair today? Be a tough call, wouldn't it? Be a tough call. But that's great. Okay, coming up next then, our winner in this category is this photograph, which again was one of those photographs that the minute it came onto the screen, we all leapt for joy. This photograph has got bokeh. Look at that. I love the bokeh thing. I was talking about bokeh myself this morning. It's got bokeh in the front. It's got these lovely outer focus highlights produced by the lens in the camera. It's got rainbow bokeh behind it here. And it's got the bird in a perfect position. Its head raised, its beak open. It's a whiskered tern, presumably on its nest. This is the nest of the bird behind it. They make it out on the floating vegetation here. It was taken by, oh my goodness me, Andrei Pelenak, I hope.
Pretty good.
Pretty good, is it? That's not so bad then. And so this is, again, one of those photographs that the minute we saw it, we just thought, wow, it is beautifying this species perfectly. And again, we'd like to, you know, when these birds are in flight, we can appreciate the shape and the form of them, but to do something with them on the ground and keep that intrinsic beauty is a great skill indeed. And again, he's not with us, is he, Rob? He's got a video, is he? Okay, so let's hear what he's got to say about this, because he's our winner this year for the Young Bird Photographer of the Year.
Hello everybody, my name is Andrei Pelenak and I'm from Czech Republic. I have been enthusiastic about nature, especially birds, but photography as well, since I was 7 years old. And nothing has changed till nowadays, so I'm still a passionate wildlife photographer, a bird watcher and a biologist. I'm very happy that you like my photos and that my photo of whiskered tern achieved so great success. So I would like to thank very much organizers and everyone who participates in this great photography contest. So thank you very much, and I wish you many wonderful snapshots, bird observations and a good life. Goodbye.
Okay, so that brings the end to all of our categories, and it was a great message as well there. So as I explained at the beginning, the judges had the unenviable task of choosing one of the winners of all of the categories to be this year's Bird Photographer of the Year. Now think back to last year, we had that extraordinary image of the swan, that illuminated bloom set out on the water. And we were all very keen to choose that image so it would send out a very clear message to the photographers that this was no ordinary bird photographic competition. You can send us as many pin-sharp, crisp portraits as you possibly like. But what we're interested in is photographers who have the vision to raise their game, the imagination, who will exercise their technology and their innovation to produce startling images. And you've seen what a tough task we've got. I won't run through them all. I'm sure you've got them stored on your mind. The pelican, oh my goodness me, the pelican. And then you've got the cormorant's wing, You've got, I mean, yes. It was a tough one, and we debated it for some time. But the winner of this year's Bird Photographer of the Year, 2017, is this photograph. It's an outstanding image, which again I'm sure will haunt some of you as well. But this was a superb year. The competition was extraordinarily high. I've already extolled the virtues of this photograph. Again, I urge you to look at it in the book to see it in its full finery. But it is all about colour, shape, texture and form. It's also got that wonderful bit of delicate behaviour where the adult bird is feeding this juvenile in the middle of the frame. and it is quite startling. Photographed by Alejandro Prieto Rojas. It's a super photograph, so let's give him a round of applause.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alejandro Prieto. I am a wildlife photographer from Guadalajara, Mexico. I am very honored to receive the 2017 Grand Prize Award of the Bird Photographer of the Year. I am very sorry I won't be able to be with you this evening. The winning photo is about a flamingo feeding its chick, and it was taken at Rio Lagartos, which is the main nesting area of this bird in the south of Mexico. The chicks are fed with a diet of crop milk that comes from the upper digestive system of both of their parents. These birds are born with grey and white feathers. They do not turn pink for a year or two. The colony was flooded last year, causing the loss of hundreds of eggs. Global warming and other factors cause these heavy rains. I feel that my duty as a wildlife photographer is to share the beauty and the magnificence of nature, but also to inform about these major problems. Finally, I want to thank all the talented photographers, the jury, Mr. Chris Packham, and all the organizers of this great event. Well, thanks again, and good evening.
Alejandro, you heard it in the message there. It's about inspiration. These photographs have been truly inspirational. I'm sure there are photographers here who think I might have something lurking on my hard drive. If you have, we want to see it next year. The bar needs to be raised. It will be more difficult next year to raise it as rapidly, I say that now, but I'm already eagerly hoping to be invited to be a judge again so that I can open on some dark rainy night that file in my office and see these sorts of images. These are the works of great artists, great conservationists, and people who are out there inspiring us to develop a passion and a compassion for nature. And they've done an outstanding job, and so have the organisers. I'm going to introduce Andrew in a moment to wrap up proceedings, but I would like you to put your hands together now for the organisers of this competition, who I think have done an outstanding job. Let's hear it.
Thanks very much, Chris. Fantastic job as always. And thank you all for coming again, our second year. Pleased to be able to declare the 2018 competition open again. And I'd like to add my thanks to Rob Reed, to stand with catching me and compromising me. Rob has really done all the hard work. I have no idea how long it takes to get this sort of thing going and to get us to this point. And Paul Sterry, sitting here, who dreamed up the competition in the first place. So thanks to everybody for coming, thanks to all our photographers. We hope to see you all here again next year. And thanks to Chris, who I believe is kindly going to sign some of the Bird Photographer of the Year books for us at the back of the hall. Thank you very much.